So another day, we have another real estate prediction for Canadians. How likely is a Canadian real estate crash in 2021? Now, the thing I like about this article from mortgagebrokernews.ca is I feel like it's fairly balanced. They're not trying to push any particular narrative, saying that we there's an impending uh, fall in Canadian real estate but they do give a kind of like a rationale as to what might trigger what might actually trigger some pricing decrease, and why it may or may not occur. And I think that's the best way to do it. And even just with the title, I like it. How likely is a Canadian real estate crash in 2021? I mean, it's not hyperbolic. It's asking a question. I think that's a question that's on a lot of people's minds because when you have any sort of, I guess, change to the economy, which COVID did bring, uh, we start to wonder how safe are we financially? How safe is the economy? We've seen a lot of things shut down. There's a lot of people that were negatively affected and still are negatively affected and may continue to be negatively affected into the near future and beyond. Sometimes uh, to the point where it can't be recovered, right? So irreparably harmed, I think was the term I was looking for. So yeah, but I think this article does a great job, and I just wanted to go through a little bit of it, highlight some of the ideas, and yeah, just provide my own feedback. So the Canadian housing crash, always just around the corner, yet never seeming to materialize. People write and talk about the derailing of the real estate gravy train so frequently that a person could be forgiven for thinking some portion of the population is secretly rooting for it to happen. I don't think it's a secret. I think some people are openly rooting for it to happen because they would benefit from a decrease in the housing prices. There are still people that want to get into the market, and of course, a lower home price would allow them to purchase a home, right? If they've been squeezed out of the affordability due to affordability, they'll be able to purchase one. And even the people that might be just on the cusp, they may want to be able to save more money, right? They want to have a lower monthly payment. Completely understandable. That being said, from the other side of the coin, we're looking at um, people that already own a home. They either have property in the portfolio as an investment or they own their own primary residence. Now, those folks, they just want to continue to see the increase in the value of their home, right? Or at least for it to maintain value. But really, you want to see it increase to keep up with inflation, right? So that way you're not continuously losing money. But yeah, so I think I don't think it's a secret. I think there are some people that want to see a decrease in the housing prices, and some people that want to see an increase. And there would be policies that can increase the house prices of homes, and there's be policies that can decrease the pricing of homes. And so it's really there's definitely a balancing act between the two. But yeah, so what then to make of lowest-rates.ca's report? Will the Canadian housing market crash in 2021? And like I said, that's why I think it's pretty good. To the credit of authors Lisa Coxon and Zandil Chawanza, the report tries to present the possibility of a housing crash from opposing angles, one arguing the unlikelihood of a crash and the other saying a crash has already started. Interesting. So why a crash isn't likely? For the pro-crash perspective, Coxon and Chawanza lean heavily on the fact that corporations and households are more indebted now than they were in 1990, the last time the Canadian housing bubble was said to have popped due to a recession. But conversely, even though there's more debt, the interest rates are substantially lower. As you can see here, 5-year mortgage was 13.35% in 1990. Now you can get 5-year fixed for under 2%, right? So there's incredible difference in terms of the cost of the money. So even taking into account the inflated prices homeowners are paying now compared to 1990, few experts see a wave of delinquencies, defaults, or foreclosures hitting the Canadian market in 2021. So they're saying that generally they're seeing a flat pattern out of coming out of deferrals in terms of the consumer delinquency overall. But interestingly enough, yeah, uh, Coxon and Chawans argued that the end of the mortgage deferral programs and the government wage subsidies leave the market at risk. So it's just where the risk is placed is kind of what they're saying because if you take a look at Hilliard Macbeth's comments here, it's they're saying Hilliard, sorry, is saying that it's showing up in the condo market first. There's a huge surplus in the condo market, both on condos for rent and condos for sale. And then related to that, there's a huge number of new purpose-built rentals, either on the market or about to hit the market. So we're seeing a drop in the value of the condo apartments in that area because you're getting an increase in supply, and there's also a decrease in demand that people are moving outside of those types of homes. I think a lot of it has to do with behavioral changes. There's I read an article the other day. Young Canadians or younger homeowners, they want to move out to like a single family house, something of that nature, which is the preference over a condo apartment. Because if you want to have some space, stuff of that nature, right? And now you don't have to be in any of these urban centers in order to achieve home ownership or to also have a job, right? That's one of the reasons you stay in Toronto is because you can get a well-paying job, but one of the trade-offs is you have to live in the city, right? Trade-off to some, not to everybody, but depending on the lifestyle you want, you can't necessarily achieve that living in downtown Toronto. Anyways, or in the urban center. Anyway, so here's where theories of a market crash typically break down, in this author's opinion. They assume, possibly because Canada's population is as modest as it is, that the Canadian real estate market is a tiny, self-contained ecosystem where a single pollutant can contaminate the entire thing. That's not the case. There is no Canadian real estate market. What this is really saying is that there's a number of it's Canadian real estate market's more like a euphemism. It's it's like a shorthand of saying that the collection of these independent markets that don't necessarily have any impact on each other. Uh, so I mean, you puts the example of the why would a decrease in the value of homes in Alberta necessarily have an impact on homes in Ontario? That's a good question. Unless there is some sort of widespread collapse, like in the um, 2008 financial crisis, like in the U.S., there was a widespread issue, which caused a lot of people to have to leave the market simultaneously, which led to a drop in drop in housing prices. We haven't seen that yet. What did happen was, I mean, COVID could have been that, but was a number of programs put in place to kind of manage that situation. So the question is, now that these programs have ended, is it just a matter of is it just a lag between the programs ending and uh, the the effect is going to have on the housing market in terms of a decrease, or are we really past that hurdle? Are we really not going to see any negative effects on the housing market? But to be fair, Macbeth isn't the only person expecting prices to drop. The Real Estate Investment Network recently released a report encouraging investors to prepare for a rise in delinquencies and foreclosures in the third quarter of 2021. Interesting. Housing prices are the last to be affected by factors such as a decreased economic growth, higher unemployment, and falling immigration numbers. Rain's Jennifer Hunt said. There are lagging indicators. So yes, we're seeing in many cities in Canada these frothy markets, But that's exactly the behavior we look for in a market that's entering into a slump. Very interesting, right? So it's not so much that it's not going to happen, it's just that it's the last shoe, one of the last shoes to drop. It falls, it's one of the last it's one of the last metrics to change in the series of changes that occur when there's a recession. So saying that there's still the possibility for this to happen, um, but just kind of take it in uh, take it in with what everyone else is saying, that even though it might happen only in specific markets like the condo market, which is experiencing a drop right now, and what some may consider a crash right now. So very interesting. I would recommend reading reading the article, and also just taking a look at the report that was put out. But yeah, anyways, what are your thoughts on the market? Do you think it's actually going to crash? Canada as a whole, or is it maybe just one piece or another? Are we going to continue to see a weakness in condominium apartments in Toronto, in GTA? I think so. Personally, I think so. Just because you have an increase in supply, you have a decrease in demand. What else can happen to your price but fall? Anyways, that's all from me for today. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon.